I feel very comfortable in saying is that KJ Lewis will start at the University of Arizona next year. He is going to be one of your starting wings. Jaden Bradley is going to start. He is going to be your starting point guard. Going into the Big 12, Sheer, those are really, really nice pieces to have. Sure, it's not like we're talking about how you have Mike Bibby and, Miles Simon, but these are guys who are very tough. They are physical, and not only that, they fit into what the Big 12 is about. Big fan of both of those guys being starters next year, as are you, Jason Shear.
Yeah, I mean, the only way, in my opinion, that Jaden doesn't start is if there's some elite point guard in the portal. And I mean, like elite. I will say this, that I think Jaden got off to somewhat of a rocky start last season when he got comfortable, but I think the last, let's say, 12 games, I think he proved to the coaching staff he's an elite or able to play an elite basketball. I would expect, if you ask me who's going to start between him and Boswell, I would say Bradley.
At that point, we have a real problem if that's.
Well, no, I know, but I'm just saying, I think there's a lot of options in the portal, is what I'm saying. Like, let's say we go back to what Arizona wanted to do last year, which is have the Boswell-Nembhard backcourt, right? Mm-hmm. Could they have a situation where they have a Bradley, an elite point guard? You know what I mean? Like a 2-point guard system. That's what I'm saying.
Either way, he has to start is my point. He's not coming back to come off the bench ever.
I would agree with that. I do think KJ Lewis starts, and if he doesn't start, he's playing 25 minutes off the bench, right? You're using him like they used Pella last year where he's on the bench, but he's still playing 25 minutes. Those are probably the only two. I think the rest of it, I think Krivas probably starts at the 5.
Yeah, I think Krivas starts at the 5. So here's what we know. I'm just going to go with what this is just a guess on my part, but I think we're looking at a starting lineup right now. And because I do believe that the starting power forward is not currently on this roster. As a matter of fact, I'd be stunned if it is.
I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Unless Dylan Anderson becomes a freak of nature. We'll get to Dylan though. KJ Lewis, Sanon, and Jaden Bradley, I think, are probably your leaders in the clubhouse to be your starting perimeter. I think you're looking at Mount Krivas up front, and you have got to get a good big or a good athletic, strong power forward. Kind of a Keyshawn Johnson, to be honest with you. Maybe a little bit different, but kind of that. You need to get an athletic, let's just say it, an athletic freak. You got to get somebody like that because listen, as much as we like Mount Krivas, I like Mount Krivas a lot. As much as I like Dylan Anderson, nobody likes Dylan Anderson more than me. These are not next level athletes. You need to get an athlete here.
It's going to be an elite athletic forward. You're not going to get like people, Brandon Angel was mentioned when he went in the portal. That's not the type of power forward Arizona wants. He's going to be athletic. He's going to be similar to Keyshawn. Ideally, he's a little bit better of a scorer than Keyshawn, but that's the guy that they want. Can guard multiple positions, is athletic. You can't have an unathletic team in the Big 12. If I had to pick a freshman to start, it would be Sanon. Now, I will say that Sanon. No, Sanon. Jason Sanon, according to him.
Go ahead, sorry.
But he would probably be the freshman that I would expect to start. But I will say this, if you can go and get a PJ Haggerty out of the portal, you go and do that, and Sanon is coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm. So
I think people got to realize, like, there's dudes in the portal where if Arizona can land them, it's going to change things around a little bit.
All right, let's talk about Carter Bryant. I get a lot of people that ask about Carter Bryant, and rightfully so. He's very, very talented. Here's where I'm at with Carter Bryant. And again, he's very talented. He is going to make a very, very nice living one day in the NBA. Carter Bryant at the 4 is just not ready at the Big 12 level, in my opinion. In my opinion, Carter Bryant is a 2-year player. I've always felt that he's a 2-year player, and there is nothing wrong with that. I'll get people that will be like, man, why are you dissing him? Well, I still think he's a first-round pick. I just think it's going to take a little time. Here's the deal. When you look in the Big 12, these are grown men. These are 22, 23-year-old dudes. Everybody looks like Keyshawn Johnson or is even bigger. Carter is going to definitely have a role next year, but it's not going to be 28 minutes per game bouncing back and forth from the 4 to the 3. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Carter is good, obviously. I don't think anyone's denying that. But yeah, like you mentioned, like there's there's some freaks at the 4 and there. Like, there's some tough dudes. I think Carter is going to have similar to a KJ Lewis role.
Mm-hmm. Where there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, where he'll come off the bench, and some games he'll play 10 minutes, and some games he'll play really well. And before you know it, he's playing 20, and he's a spark off the bench, and he could guard multiple positions. And then next year, the year after that, he's ready to start and play 30 minutes a game. That's kind of how I see this playing out. Not many people out there have watched Carter as much as we have, right? Mm-hmm. I think Carter has some things to figure out in terms of consistently being able to dominate.
He's got to get stronger. I mean, you watch it, and there's nothing wrong with this. This is also kind of just how things are, biologically. When you look at Carter, this is one of Carter's things that I think is going to be best for him going forward, is that Carter is young. You can tell by looking at him. I'm not talking age-wise, but you can tell from a development factor, he's not one of these dudes coming in here like Stanley Johnson that's basically going to be the same now as he is in 4 years. Carter is going to be a guy who is going to be, it's going to take him a year. But, man, I think by the time he goes into that sophomore year, we're very much in that KJ Lewis realm where it's like, man, bring this because this kid's going to be ready.
I think people also have to remember, and we've brought this up, and Calipari brought this up. I always go back to what he said after Kentucky lost. College basketball is different. There's still the COVID year. It's still out there. So Carter Bryant's going in, and he's being asked to guard 23-year-old power forwards, right? It's just it's a different game. That's one of the reasons why these younger teams are struggling. You look at the Final Four now, these dudes are transfers. These guys are older, physical, because that young stuff doesn't really work anymore.
Right. It doesn't work. And the COVID year is still something that I think John Calipari makes a very good point on. And so there is that. But again, I think when you're looking at players off the bench, Carter Bryant's going to play. It's going to be like a KJ Lewis. As a matter of fact, here, listen, there's no bigger fan of KJ Lewis, obviously, than me. I think you could have made the case that KJ probably could have played a little bit more. He obviously didn't. But, and Muehlbach said this, and I don't think he said that here's the thing about Lloyd, and I think some people can get a little bit frustrated by Lloyd. Listen, I always preface this by saying that I hope Tommy Lloyd is here for the next 500 years. So, but, I think there are some things that you look at, and I think he's kind of gets caught in the moment with just going with whoever's out there. But, I think in hindsight, KJ probably should have played a little bit more. But at the same time, I think he's also going to take inventory of this year's team and realize that, that's something that should have happened. Now, let's talk about Oumar Balow, leader of men. Oumar Balow, leader of men, became way better than I ever thought he was going to be. And not only did he become way better than I thought he was ever going to be, he was a good basketball player. But I will say that if you're looking at one more year of Oumar Balow, leader of men, or say 2 or 3 years of Krivas and Dylan Anderson, I'm going to take 2 to 3 years of Krivas and Dylan Anderson, mainly because with Krivas, I think, listen, Oumar Balow is what he is, and that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, but he's always going to be what he is right now. With Krivas, this is a guy that I think he's got more natural basketball skills. I think that's fair to say, is it not? Yeah.
And look, the coaching staff loves Krivas. They love him. I'm just going to say that people can criticize, he's stiff, whatever, which I don't necessarily agree with. I'm telling you right now, they think he is going to be a stud in 2 years, really, really good, and they don't want to lose him. And if he went to the coaching staff, he's not going to the coaching staff. The coaching staff is smart enough to be like, look, we love Oumar. If we brought him to the Big 12, he'd be awesome. But Krivas would be gone. Dylan would be gone.